back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys a whole lot for subscribing to my channel, for the support that you guys have given to me here on YouTube. I appreciate it a whole lot. Yeah, I actually do. I appreciate it. For sharing my videos, for telling other people about Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I appreciate a whole lot. And like I always say, may the good Lord bless you all in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, so before we continue, if you are new to my channel, if you haven't subscribed already, if this is the first time of coming across Stylish Naija YouTube channel, I would appreciate if you will hit on the subscribe button and then hit on the bell on the side to get an update whenever I upload a new video. That's just like basically the essence of doing that. I always like saying that part. Okay guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew this trendy bodycon one shoulder gown. Yeah, that's actually what I'm going to call it, a trendy bodycon one shoulder gown. And this gown, you could see from the picture up there, it is a little bit trickish. The neckline part is a little bit trickish, so that's just going to be like the basis of our tutorial today, how to achieve it. So it's really simple and it is easy, so I'm going to be showing you how to do that. So the fabrics, that the amount of fabric that I have here is actually 3 yards of fabric. That's what I'm going to be making use of. Why 3 yards? You can see because of the sleeve. The sleeve is a long sleeve, and then we have something like a, or am I going to call it now, like a flounce on top of the sleeve part. So that's just like why I'm going to be making use of 3 yards. If not, 2 yards would have been enough to do this. And if you are interested in my online classes, if you want to register for my online classes, these are registered class. You have to register to be a participant in this class. So you could send me a message, chat me up on WhatsApp, so you could see the number. Just send me a chat. You really don't need to call. Just send me a chat so that I'll be able to give you the details of the. Okay, so you could also follow me on all of my social media platforms, on Facebook, Stylish Naija, on Pinterest, Stylish Naija, and also you could visit stylishnaija.com. This is a website where I normally share pictures of trendy and styles. For those of you that are looking for styles to sew, you could always come to Stylish Naija, so you could see all of the handles scrolling through your screen. So just visit and then get acquainted with what we do. Okay, let's just get started. So I'm going to fold my fabric now, and then we'll continue. We're going to draft the top part of the dress first. Okay guys, so you could see I have my fabric laid out. So now I'm going to explain the measurement that I'm going to be using. The measurement, I folded my fabric according to the top part of my measurement, which is with the biggest parts rather, which is the bust, and the bust is actually 36 inches. So when you divide 36 into 4, you have 9 inches. So I added about 3 inches allowance to it. So I have about 13 inches. 1, 2, 3. Okay, about 4 inches. That's what I added. So I folded my fabric at 14. This is the front piece, and then this is the back piece. The back piece is 1 inch bigger than the front because of the back zipper allowance. So we're going to do the top part of the dress first. So I have some basic lines here which I'm going to explain. This top part is going to serve as the shoulder part. So I'm leaving half an inch on top, which is going to be to stitch the top part of the shoulder. So the first line that I have here is 10 inches, which is my bust line. The bust line, that's the nipple point, and then the under bust, that's 13 inches, and then my half cut, that's where I actually want the cut, the half cut to be, is 16, and then I added 1.5 inch allowance to it for stitching and then joining. So that's like basically the line that I have here, and we're going to go straight. For this kind of dress, you can decide to make it a flat, that's just making use of your regular waist dart, or you can decide to make it a princess cut. You can decide to make it a bustier, so it depends on what you want. For this, I'm just going to be doing a basic body top. That's just going to be adding a waist dart to it. Let's get started. The first measurement I'm going to measure now is the shoulder measurement. For beginners that actually don't know, when you fold, in measuring your shoulder, you divide into 2, and the shoulder for this dress is actually 14 inches. So when you divide 14 into 2, you have 7 inches. So we're going to mark, you're just going to come to this top part, and then you mark your 7 inches here, and then I'm going to add about 1.5 inch allowance. You could do 1 inch, you could do 2. So I will do add 1.5 inch allowance here, and then from this point like this, I'm going to measure what I'm going to use for my armhole. So for the armhole, I'm going to use 7.5 inches, which I'm just going to connect like this. So I'm going to mark out the armhole like this. So when I'm cutting out, I'm going to cut the back armhole is going to be bigger. I'll show you that. The next measurement I'm going to cut out now is the bust measurement. So, and the bust is 36, like I said. So when you divide 36 into 4, you have 9 inches. This is my 9 inches for the bust measurement here. And then I'm going to add about 2.5 inches allowance to it. And then I'm just going to, from this armhole point like this, I'll do this. And then the next measurement is the under bust measurement, which is 30 inches. So when you divide 30 into 4, you have 7.5. This is 7.5. And then I'm still going to maintain the 3 inches allowance. So from this point like this, you're just going to make like this, a little slant like this. Because you know it's not straight, this part is smaller. And then the next measurement we're going to measure is the waist measurement. That's the down part, which is 34. So when you divide 34 into 4, you have 8.5. This is 8.5 here like this. And then you're still going to maintain the allowance, the 3 inches allowance. So from this point now, I'm just going to do this. So we're done with our measurement. So I'm going to cut out the side of the dress now. So for the back armhole, I'm going to add about ½ inch allowance for the back armhole. So it's just going to come like this. So that's for the back armhole. So for the front one, I'm just going to trim it off from here like this. Okay, so we're done. The next thing we're going to do now, we're going to be working on the neckline part, which is just like the basics for this whole tutorial. The first, in drafting out the neckline, the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to mark out the dart point because it's going to be of use. So in marking out the dart, we're going to use half of the bust span measurement, which is 4 inches. So this is my 4 inches, like this. So I'm going to connect it with a straight ruler from this point down like this. So that's my bust and span measurement, which I'm going to use for the dart. But before I continue, I'm going to mark it to the top part. So I'm going to extend a little bit. I'm going to extend the dart line. Let me just rule it to the top part, just to be. Even though I'm not going to make use of it, just to serve as a guide. Okay, so we're done with that. The next thing I'm going to do now, we're going to mark out the neckline. So the neckline, we'll do the front first and then we'll use it to do the back. So the neckline that we're going to do now, I'm going to use 3 inches. You could decide to do 3.5 inches. So this is the 3 inches for the neckline. So this is the 3 inches. What I'm going to do now, I'm not going to cut it out. I'm going to put a notch here. Okay, so after putting the notch, I'm going to open this up like this. So this is the center part of my dress. So from this point, this is one of the notch for the neckline. You are going to determine how long. You could see the neckline is like a V, like a part of it like this is like a straight V, and then you have a curve which enters into the armhole part. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. I'm going to measure the length that I want, how deep I want the straight part of the neckline to be. So this is like 8 inches. Okay, so you mark it like this. This is 8 inches from the shoulder part, depends on how long. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to create like a slant so you could see the 8 inches. I'm slanting it a little bit. In order for me to know, I'm just using 1 inch from the center part. So that's how much I'm going to just create a slant like this, because it is a V neckline. So I'm just going to create it like this to this point. So I've created this to this point. The next thing you are going to do now, we're going to create the cup that is going to create like our, you know, this is like a partial tube top, tube bodice rather, tube bodice rather. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to work with our bust span. You know, half of the bust span is actually 4 inches, which is 8. That's the full bust span from this point to this point. What we're going to do now, we already have, I know I'm going to create like a curve from this point like this, but how deep do I actually want it? So that's where you are going to come in. You're going to determine how deep you want it from the neckline, how deep you actually want it. So for mine, I'm going to just like measure. So I'm going to come up to about like 6 inches. That's, this part is going to be, you know, this part is 8 inches, so this part is going to be 6 inches. So that's how much curve, that's the height of the cup that I'm going to create. And then the next thing I'm going to do now, I know that from this point I could just create a curve from this point, but that curve, if I create it, I cannot just start sliding it down from this point. So because I want it to cover the bust area properly, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to extend this part by 2 inches. I hope you understand what I do and what I'm doing. What I do. So from this part now, I'm going to extend by 2 inches. This is just like to serve as a guide. So when I'm creating the cup, I'll know that once I get to this 2 inches part, I can now start sliding it into the armhole part. So that's just like a guide. So I've created the V. Now the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to create an arc. So in creating an arc, I'm going to use my pattern curve. I'm just going to place it however I want to place it to this neckline point, and then I'm going to create a round curve like this. So that's 6 inches point that I measured from the top part, and then the curve is going to go up to the 2 inches extension. So that's just like the basics for this. You see the cup, and then the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to slant it down into my armhole point. So you see what we have. So you could just see the shape of that curve. It's already out. So I hope you got it. So now I have a cup now that will cover the bulbs area properly. So that's just like basically what we did here. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to place this on the back. This is the back part. So I've pinned my allowance parts together. I'm just going to take it like this. You are not going to cut it. You make sure that it is facing, the right side is facing the right side before you cut, in order not to get into any problem. So what we are going to do now for the back piece, before we cut the back piece, remember the notch that I made here. I'm just going to extend it like this to the back part. So I've extended. So now I know that this is the side that we're cutting out. So what I'm going to do now from this part now, I'm just going to create a curve into the armhole part. So for this part, you are just going to determine how deep you want it to be. If you want the neckline, the back neckline to be very deep, you are just going to measure. Like this is like 8 inches now. So I can now decide to just mark 8 inches like this. But all I'm doing, I'm creating a curve like this to this, from this point like this. And then from here, I'm just going to slant it into my neckline part. So like I said, how deep you want it to be. So that's just like basically how this is done. It's really simple and easy. So what we are going to do now, I'm going to cut it out. So for the front, here's how we're going to cut like this now. And then you curve. So you see the front part, and then the back part, we're going to cut out the back. you see this is the back part now. The next thing we're going to do now, I'm going to put my notches for my dart. So like I said, if it is a buster, you couple and then before you do this. So I'm going to put my notches like this now for the dart point. So we're done with the top part. So for the skirt part, I'm going to be using my skirt pattern. So because it is a straight skirt, so I'm going to use my skirt pattern. I'm not going to do it from scratch, so I'm going to cut out. I'll drop the link in the description box so you can decide to use this pattern. Okay, so I've cut out my skirt pattern, so I'm just going to insert my dart on it. So the next thing, I'm going to go and start stitching. In stitching this, you will just cut your lining just the same way you actually cut your fabric, and then you are going to use it to turn it. So I'll go and do that. So once I'm done coupling the top part, we'll come back and cut out the sleeve. For the sleeve, it's just a regular pencil sleeve, so I'm going to use my pencil sleeve pattern to cut out the sleeve, and then I'll show you how to measure that flounce that is on the sleeve parts. I'll show you how to do that. So I'll couple and then come back and show you guys. So you could see how beautiful the top part of our bodice is looking. So the next thing we're going to do before we cut out the sleeve, before we attach the sleeve, is it will be easier for us to attach the flounce on the side. So we're going to cut out the flounce now. In cutting it out, you are going to measure how long. You know our bodice is actually 16 inches. So you are going to open up and then you measure. You are going to determine how long you actually want it to be, and that's where you want it to be. So from this point, I'm just going to come up by 1 inch, and then I'm going to measure 30 inches. So it's going to run from this part, from one part of the top to the other. So we're going to use 30 inches. The next thing you are going to determine is the width of what you are going to use. And that's the width of what you are going to cut out. So I'm just going to fold it in a flay form, and then I'll use 30 inches as the circumference, that's as the radius rather. And then the inches that I'm going to use about, let me say, I'm going to use about 5 inches. I think 5 inches will be okay, or 6 inches, so it falls properly. So you cut it in a flay form, just cut out in a flay form. Okay guys, so I finished cutting out the flay. So what I did is just cut out your regular flay. What I did, because I don't want to waste my fabric, I actually cut out 2 of 15 inches. So at the end of the day, I just stitched it together on the center. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to connect it. It is really simple. In connecting this, what you are going to do, you are going to measure out the shoulder measurement. You are going to measure out the shoulder measurement, and then in measuring out the shoulder measurement, you are going to fold the top part of the bodice. You fold it like this, and then you are going to put your tape here on the neckline. That's the center part. So when you fold, you get your center part. That's where the neckline, the center point of your neckline is, or else it will not align properly. So I'm just trying to explain these things to you. So you are going to mark out the shoulder measurement. You know our shoulder measurement is actually 14. So when you divide, you have 7 inches. So this is the 7 inches. I don't want to stain my dress with the chalk. So this is the 7 inches. The next thing you are going to do, you are just going to leave 1/4 of an inch that you are going to use to stitch the shoulder to the sleeve. So this is like 1/4 of an inch, like this now. That's what I'm going to leave. So this flay now, this flounce that I cut out, I'm going to fix it on this line. So I just want to try and make it visible for you to see. I'm going to fix it along this line. That's the actual shoulder line, and then here's where I'm now going to connect the sleeve. So this is my shoulder line. I'm going to fix this here along this line. So I just hope you got it. So in fixing it, I'm going to open it up like this now, and then this is the point. All I'm going to do now, I'm just going to mark it. So I'm trying to get it straight, and then from this point I'll use my long ruler to mark it up to the 15 inches point. You know my dress is actually 16 inches, so I just have about 1.5 inch left here, and then on this side also 1.5 inch left. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to mark this line like this now. I'm going to connect it to that 1.5 inch point like this. Just mark a straight line. So when you are stitching, you're just going to stitch it along the line. So with that, it's going to cover up properly. So when I get to that point, I'm going to stop it. You can decide if you want to take it down, let it enter into the half cut. You can decide to do that. And then this one also, I'm going to take it like this, and then I'm going to mark it straight. Okay, so you see, it is really simple. Why I decided to do this is, like I said, it is easier to do this before joining the up part and the down part. So you know, after and joining, it's going to fall like this to this side. So we're going to fix it like this. So I'm just trying to, so it's going to fall like this to this side. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to open it up like this, and then we're going to stitch it like this from the back like this. From this point like this, we're going to fix it facing this part. Okay, now the simplest way is, this is the right side, and then this is the right side of the flame. We are going to just stitch it on a straight line like this, along that straight line that we did. We fix it like that, and once you are done, it's going to fall to this side. So this quarter of an inch, that's the part that is going to remain, where we're going to stitch the sleeve, and then it covers properly. So that's what I'm going to go and stitch that now. After stitching, I'm going to connect the up and the down together. Okay guys, so I'm so excited at the outcome of our bodycon one shoulder gown. It is looking so beautiful and so really pretty. So after stitching, so it's going to drop like this. The only thing that is remaining now is for me to cut out my sleeve. Like I said, I'm going to use my sleeve pattern to cut it out. I'll drop the link in case you don't know how to do a straight sleeve. I'm going to drop the link on the description box also. So the next thing that I'm going to do now, I'm going to add that opening at the front. Actually, what that thing is not a slit, because you could see it is an opening. So in adding that opening, you will determine which part you actually want to place the opening. So I'm going to, because the picture on the fabric that was actually used on the picture is actually a scuba fabric, so it is stretching. So if you are using a scuba fabric, you can still decide to add it that way. So I'm going to come to this part like this, and then this is my dart line. That's what I'm going to use as like a boundary line, if I would permit me use that word. So I'm just going to follow it down, and then I'm just creating a mark here like this, and then from this part I'm going to take out some couple of inch like this. I'm just going to cut it out. So at the end of the day, you can decide to just I'll just use and stitch it round. So because it was actually not lined, because it is a scuba that was used for it. So from this point like this, I'm just going to measure, depends on how wide I actually want it to be. I could decide to take one in and then one out, so I'm going to place it like this. So I'll take 1 inch to this side, that's from the dart line like this, and then I'll take about 2 inches to this side. So everything that I have now is about 3 inches. So you are going to determine how deep also you want the opening to be. Like I said, it is not a slit, you want it to be. So for this part, I'm just going to use 8 inches. That's for my hemline. So after folding, it's going to reduce to about 7 inches. So I'm just going to use my curve like this just to create in case you don't want to add this. If you actually want to add a slit, you can just decide to put a slit. So I'm going to open this up now, and then when I'll stitch and then join the side. So I'm going to join the side. So you see what I have. So at the end of the day, I'm just going to trim and then fold it down. So I'll go and join my sleeve and then join the side and come back and show you the completed dress for you to see. Okay guys, so you could see this is the final look of our dress, of our bodycon, our trendy bodycon dress. So at the end of the day, so you see it came out beautifully well. So like I said in the video, if you are using a stretchy fabric like a scuba, all you have to do is just make sure you reduce all of your measurement. That's the side measurement by 1 inch, so you will be able to, so your body stretches into the dress. So thank you so much. So this is the flanks on the side. So if you find this video helpful, I would appreciate if you will hit on the like button and also share it with your friends, your soulmates. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you so much. I'll see you in my next video. If you find it helpful, hit on the like button. Like it to make me know you appreciate what I did with the video. So thank you so much.